Today, I'm going to be talking about understanding whistleblowing and helpline issues. My name is Mark Putnam. I'm the CEO of Global Ethics Solutions, and it's just my pleasure to be here with you. And this is a topic that's near and dear to our hearts. Not only do we have things that we provide on this, but Joe, who was just talking, has an amazing story of whistleblowing and the good, the bad, the ugly, and being part of going through the ringer in that. So this is really what is close to our hearts, and we just hope that this will help provide some helpful information to you just on understanding the entire issue as far as, and then specifically helplines, and then we're going to talk about reporting a little bit later. So just to give some descriptions and objectives today, this course is going to cover basic information relating to whistleblowing and helplines. And I'm saying basic because we only really have 25 minutes to talk here. So just some basic information. I don't know who is out there and what exactly your experience has been or how big your company is. I know from looking at from some people I know out there in our LinkedIn community, we have people who have small businesses all the way up to large corporations. So you may have a helpline, maybe you don't, or maybe you are the helpline. I don't know, but this is just something to help give us some basic information. We want you to help understand the responsibilities for building an ethical culture and the effective role of reporting and investigations. Really, again, I keep using that because this is what we're about. This is why I'm here, is to really help build an ethical culture, make a difference. And we do that by providing helplines and resources to people so that they can, again, it builds that larger culture. We want to know who whistleblowers are and the importance of protecting them. Learn the legal requirements for helplines in the USA and abroad, and you'd be surprised about that. The need for helplines, best practices, and basic structure. So I guess this would be like a helplines whistleblower 101 type of course. And we're going to know the basic steps of conducting an investigation. We're talking basic here because Global Ethics Solutions doesn't do investigations. So I should just say that. We have partners that can do that, and we can help you find somebody. But since I'm not an attorney and that's not our area, we're just going to cover some just very basics with that. All right, and like Joe said, if you have any questions or anything, please use the chat. We'd love to chat with you. Joe's going to moderate that, so he'll be in the chat room moderating as we go along. So I just want to start out and talk about some important facts. This is from the NAVEX Global Study in 2017. Some interesting facts here. More employees are filing reports these days. It's up 56% for the past 7 years. So a lot of, for some possible reasons, okay, might be better tools. I mean, now we have more internet tools, we have more texting and all, of many vendors who provide information. So we have better tools. Employees feel have more confidence that reporting will make a difference. And I can see just from bullying 10 years ago, deal with it. Well, now it's a big deal. I mean, you can see how our maturing of our whole ethics and compliance community and programs and awareness. I mean, people are thinking about this more. Scandals are in the news. So, the ethics community is evolving, and people, believe that if they report, something will happen. And of course, the increased media attention we get, again, you hear scandal after scandal, and it just brings this whole ethics thing up. And so, reporting helplines average 1.3% calls per 100. So really generally about 1% is what you might expect per 100 employees you have. Approximately 40% of allegations are found to be substantiated, which means 60% aren't. That means you're always going to get quite a few claims, maybe are people complaining about coffee in the coffee machine, or so-and-so took my mug, or I don't know. There's just, there's the frivolous complaints, but about 40% are substantiated. Anonymous reporting has decreased 65%, and this is interesting. And just because I think above, we have people are willing to, as the trust builds in the industry, people feel like they can put their name behind it. And so that's interesting. And retaliation is still pretty low, just less than 1%. People feel like they've been retaliated. So, interesting statistics, and we've really come a long way. I started this business back in 1999, pre-Enron, and I've seen this business come a long way since then. And when I think about the maturing ethics and compliance programs, it's way, way more mature now. So it's been interesting to see how things have come about. First of all, I just want to talk about a solid foundation. Building an ethical culture is more than just enforcing the rules. That's not culture. That's crime and punishment. It's about building a foundation of trust and respect. And you know that trust and respect is not something you can threaten. You can't force people. You have to earn it. And it's something that is you have to earn, and it's hard to earn, but it's so easy to lose. So really the first thing, if you want to build an ethical culture, is to build that trust and respect. And really what we're talking about today are just tools to help build that culture. But it starts with you, the CEO, the business leader. And developing and enforcing ethics policies and procedures is necessary for survival. This is not an afterthought. This is absolutely a critical part of your business. And it starts at the top. Everyone needs to be on board and accountable. And here's the thing, there's no secret. If the CEO or the leadership, if they're not ethical or they're not on board, everybody knows it. You can have all of the great statements, all of the happy things, all you want. But if people really know, people understand, and they understand what's really going on. And ethics is everyone's responsibility. An organization is only as ethical as the people in it and the standards it keeps. And I like to say there's no such thing as business ethics. There's no such thing. People are ethical. Businesses are made of people. And if you want business ethics, you need to train people, support people, encourage people, and build a culture that supports ethics. So anyway, this is the solid foundation. And I have to say this before I talk about anything else, because this is really the foundation. So let's jump into whistleblowers. A whistleblower is anyone who has and reports insider knowledge of illegal activities. They can be employees, suppliers, contractors, clients, or any individual who somehow becomes aware of illegal activities. Whether it's the person who witnesses or they learn about it. And even helplines also, customers are also, there's also different ways to reach out to customers as well, but anyone who has information, who either sees it or witnesses it or has it happen to them. And they are protected under retaliation under various state and federal programs. So this is a big deal. Whistleblowers are protected. So that should hopefully encourage whistleblowers and give them, strength to step out and do the right thing, but also to let companies know that they have to protect them. So why do people call whistleblower hotlines? Well, most people call them because of HR, diversity, workplace respect, those kinds of issues. Pretty much 3/4 of the calls that you would get would be along those lines: bullying, harassment, sexual harassment, so those interpersonal issues, HR things, maybe, somebody's not following the rules or whatever. So that's about 3/4. And then, of course, business integrity, such as maybe the code of conduct and that kind of thing, environmental health and safety, misuse, misappropriation of assets, and just auditing and accounting. And of course, this changes depending on your industry. So if you're in the banking industry, you may see more in the auditing and accounting. And so it just depends, but really you're going to see mostly along this HR, diversity, and workplace respect. So let's talk a little bit about protecting whistleblowers. It is your responsibility to protect whistleblowers from retaliation. This is the law. So that means that we don't take negative actions as far as for demotion, termination, taking legal action, recouping losses. I mean, a whistleblower should be free from retaliation, and your organization should provide protections should there be a physical threat made toward a whistleblower. But the bottom line is whistleblowers are protected, and it's a big deal. And it can be quite costly if a whistleblower is retaliated against in many ways. So it's important to know. And of course, the top ethical reporting issues, of course, safety, security, harassment, discrimination, theft and fraud, waste and abuse, code of conduct. And these are pretty much the top issues. And in our system, we use these as the main issues, and then go with those and go with topics. So, of course, every industry is different, but these are pretty much the top issues. So I'm not going to, there's a whole bunch of laws and legal requirements. I want to just provide a really quick outline of that for you, just so you can better understand all that goes into this. But first of all, if you're a public company in the United States, you are required under Sarbanes-Oxley that you have to have a whistleblower system and a reporting system. So public companies do. And the ISO 3001 risk management standards requires reporting systems. So if you want to be compliant with ISO 3001, you got to have a system in place. So you don't have to be a public company, but that's important. So, you know, whether you have to have a whistleblower system or a reporting system or you don't, you have to. There's really, it's not, you know, it's something that is absolutely best practices, whether or not the law is there staring at you or not. Private sector employees are affected by whistleblower protections under Dodd-Frank and Patient Protection Act, Affordable Care Act, especially if you're in the healthcare business. Helplines are an important part of compliance with FCPA. That's an important part. So if your company does work abroad and need to be in compliance with FCPA, Helplines is a part of that. Whistleblower protections help stay in compliance with other legislation. So if you're in the EU, you have the OECD, UK Anti-Bribery Act, and of course strict anti-bribery laws all through the EU member states. Whistleblower protections help stay in compliance with that. I mean, as you can see, this is the US, this is abroad, this is pretty much everywhere. And of course, the American Institute for Certified Public Accountants has their standards. And of course, just because your company isn't public doesn't mean a hotline can't benefit you. All organizations should implement some type of system. So again, this pretty much covers everybody. So if you've ever said to yourself, we're just 20 people in an office, or we're just a handful, it's pretty much everybody across the board. Catching problems early. So this is really important. Catching problems early can help you because you can identify those practices. And this is why no matter what size you have, you need to have a whistleblower system or helpline, because it helps identify what's going on out there. Because you may have developed your code of conduct in a boardroom or as you were developing your company or incorporating it. I mean, you may not have any idea that these issues are issues employees are having trouble with. So it helps you identify what's going on, what unethical practices. It helps you see those blind spots. I mean, we all have those blind spots where we just don't see it. Stuff is happening behind our back. We don't know. And having a helpline lets those come to light. And of course, it reduces liabilities and lawsuits as you are able to document and protect people. And this can be absolutely huge. I mean, that alone is usually the reason why people have helplines, but these others are very, very important. It helps you retain people. You know, people want to work for a company that has a helpline. It has an ethical culture. It says, you know what, we support you if you see something wrong. We want to know. We're not burying our heads in the sand. If you want to keep good people, you will have a helpline. And, you know, most people, without that, they're just going to quit. I mean, you may not know why. You're going, wow, why is the turnover so high in this company? And you may not realize that there's people stealing, there's people harassing, there's bad language, there's all kinds of stuff that just makes I would say just an unpleasant, an icky place to work. And so if you want to retain people, you give them the tools like helplines and whistleblower protection. And it helps catch issues before they become larger crisis. Anything can blow up and become huge. So that's important. And it just improves the bottom line. The more, the less you lose, the more money you make. So it's important to just maintain the bottom line. So let's talk about channels. There's all kinds of different channels, and you know, your helpline may just be you. Maybe you're a smaller company and you're the owner, you have a few dozen employees, and if they have a problem, you're like, oh yeah, come on in, my door's always open. Well, you know, that's not necessarily the best helpline, because people may be intimidated. They may need other channels. I know personally, I would feel very awkward walking in and talking to my boss or my supervisor, and I would want to have another channel. So what channels? Well, of course, there's the phone line. There's the online portal. The phone line is, it can go right to the person who's, the HR person, or as I would suggest, the phone line should probably go to an impartial, secure, private third party that can help you. And of course, the online form, it includes also chat and all kinds of internet resources. It should involve, the channels. The human resources officer is the closest person involved, so they should be, they should be the one picking up the phone too. If your company's big enough to have an ethics and compliance officer or ombudsman, they should exist, as well as the legal department, the direct manager, chain of command, or just the owner of the company, the company director, board members. They of course would be always willing to take your call. However, they may be difficult to get through, but sometimes you just have to go to the top, and the buck stops there. So these are the channels that should exist. You may not have a reporting line, or maybe you use your HR person. Maybe it's just an ethics office phone number. I mean, whatever that is. Ultimately, having all of these things in place would be a very solid ethics and compliance helpline system. Again, some of the types of reporting, phone. Of course, the phone helpline, the web form, email, text messaging, and if your company might have an app that it uses for your intranet or to connect employees, that app. Sometimes you can have a software app that will come up, and good old-fashioned snail mail, fax or postal mail form, or even a physical Dropbox. All these areas, again, all of them should be a part of your ethics program. So why do you need a helpline? Well, I talked about this a little bit earlier, but you must have one. It's not only best practices, but it's the law, as we talked about. So I'm a proponent that every company, even whether your company is window washing business with 6 employees, or you're a small business with a couple of dozen, or a large company, we need to have some kind of helpline, because they work. They work. Fraud, waste, and abuse, illegal activity are discovered through helplines. You learn so much about what's really going on. And it doesn't now you may think to yourself, well, maybe I don't want to know what's going on out there, but you actually need to know. Helplines work. They help identify these things, and you may go, wow, this has been costing us thousands of dollars a month. You just saved some money by identifying the fraud, the waste, and abuse. And encourage employees to speak up when they have an anonymous place to report. And this is why I think the anonymity is very important. Like I said earlier, I personally would in my career previously, I would have loved to have an anonymous place to report, and I probably would feel awkward going and speaking to my boss. So really, it encourages employees to speak up, and you're going to receive a lot more information when it's anonymous. And it avoids employees reporting externally. So finding their own attorney, or maybe just gossiping, or just, I say, getting it off their chest. They just need to go home and rant, or maybe they're ranting to other employees or customers. That's the worst. But that's taking those issues externally. It prevents that. And also to the media, nobody wants to have a scandal. So it prevents this getting out of control, and it builds trust and confidence. And, I think about this, an employee helpline or a system, it's kind of like insurance. It just gives people confidence and trust that there's something there in case they need it. So it just builds, and it helps, again, it's that piece of this ethical culture. You can have the training, you can have all the code of conduct and everything, but you know what? People need to have that little piece where they know that they're going to be heard, someone's going to listen to them, and they're going to have a place to go. So best practices, available 24/7. Ultimately, you want something available 24/7. Of course, if that's not possible, I mean, the workday is always is fine, but 24/7. An anonymous option. This is why maybe just picking up the phone and saying, "Hey, the Human Resources Department has their door open. That's our helpline." Well, yeah, that's their job, but people will want to have an anonymous option. Now, of course, like we learned in some of the statistics, you will get anonymous, you will get maybe more frivolous reporting with anonymous, but you know what? That just comes with the territory, and you sort those out. And really, the amount of calls that companies do get on helplines, it's not enough that it requires a whole lot of time and attention. I mean, so it's not something that you really becomes a burden. It allows multiple avenues for reporting. So your helpline should have multiple avenues. So it should have the text and the phone, web form, and all those different ways we just talked about. It must be available in the languages of employees, and we don't really think about this. But if you're a U.S. company, you may have a lot of Spanish-speaking employees, and you may not really think about that and how they're going to report. Or you may have a lot of employees from certain countries and certain nationalities that you need to think about. So language is very important in that, and it must include a case management tracking system. So that should be sort of a part of that. You may be able to have a helpline where you pick up the phone, what happened, fine. Well, there's a lot more to it. There needs to be a case management system allows that case to be created and to be updated, and it passes it on to the right person, and it tracks it, and it's confidential. This is a very important part of it. So it's really more than just setting up an 800 number. I mean, you can certainly, any company, you can go out and spend, a very small budget and go get an 800 number and have it route to your HR person or your ethics officer. But that's not really if you really want it to be effective, you want to have a full case management system attached to that. As far as structure, you have to think who will reports, who will be handling them, who decides, who is informed of reports, who conducts investigations, who decides, who will have responsibility. And it's best to have different. Yes, you want everything flowing through ultimately one person who's keeping it confidential, but you need to think about, well, who's doing the investigations? Who's going to be following up? I mean, there may be many more people involved in the process than you think. So you need to think about all those different people and who's going to do that. So let's just finish up the last few minutes here. I just want to go through some basics of conducting investigations. As I said earlier, Global Ethics Solutions doesn't do investigations, but we can certainly connect you with people who do, and we can help you in that regard. But so I'm just going to provide some really basic tips here, and then some steps to conducting investigations. So basically, they need to be prompt, effective, and thorough. Bottom line, they must be. When a report comes in, I mean, something needs to happen immediately. 24, 48 hours. It needs to happen quickly. Now, of course, the average time for a typical report may be, actually, I think it was coming in about 40 days when I read that study, but about 40 days from start to finish. But the ball should be rolling quicker. It should determine the facts, what happened. Investigation should be handled separately from discipline. And this is important. The person who's disciplining should not be the person who is conducting the investigation. And if your company is smaller, maybe that is the same person. Maybe it's the Director of Human Resources or something. But this is why it's good to have a separate outside investigator, or maybe your company legal counsel, or there's lots of great firms out there that do investigations to kind of separate that from the whole disciplinary side. Everyone involved should be treated with dignity and respect. Bottom line. I mean, it's so easy to let our own biases, or maybe, oh, that's not a big deal, or just go live with it, or whatever. We have our own biases, and we can bring those in, but we need to just separate those away and treat people with dignity and respect. And of course, the accused are innocent until proven guilty. and confidentiality should be protected to the greatest extent possible. This is why a third-party line, a third-party system is really best, because it's completely separate from the company. Because, as an employee, I might think, well, what if they're hacked? Or, maybe the CEO or the webmaster, they can kind of get in there and change something. So this is why it should be definitely an outside separated event. And of course, protect whistleblowers from retaliation. So here's some steps, and we're going to be wrapping up with this, but you receive and you document to understand the type, severity, and scope, so get the information. Next, you need to assign someone to conduct the investigation. Like we said earlier, it should be somebody outside the disciplinary area. Developed a plan. The plan, you really need to plan this out. If your investigation is just you get the complaint and then kind of just deal with it, that's not really a plan. But we need to have a solid plan. Questions. So what questions are we going to ask? Who will be interviewed, in what order? What documents am I going to look at? When? How will the accused be notified? Those are really, really important questions that you should have all together before you even start investigating. Number 3, review documents, policies. So you do that kind of document review process. 4th, you notify the interviewees and you conduct the interviews. And of course, conducting interviews, you keep all the notes, everything, include information on the cooperation. You inform them of their rights and confidentiality, and really, really important there. And 5, reach a conclusion, communicate with management, and finally close the investigation and refer to human resources for disciplinary measures. So those are the basic steps of the investigation. And we strongly encourage you to find a good company that can help you, or you develop a system within your company that does this properly. So in conclusion, train people right. We all need to train people. You train for the behavior you want. And a lot of us, we assume that people walk into a company and they know the right thing. Yeah, their parents should have taught them about theft, and they should have learned that in school. Well, they don't. And people, all different kinds of people come. So I say you need to train people for the behavior you want. And so you need to develop a strong training program that teaches both compliance and ethics, both of them. And this is what I learned from my good friend, Frank Bucaro. There's this compliance, that's the letter of the law. That's the letter of the law. That's like rewards and consequences. Well, ethics is the spirit of the law. What's going on here? What's really happening? And if you can train for both of those, you're going to build an ethical culture. And you know what? A lot of people provide compliance training. There's a lot of people, and you know what? People provide ethics training too. But I think you need a little bit of both. That really develops the character behind the compliance, which is our motto. Every step of the process should be done with integrity, impartiality, thoroughly, and with the highest standards. We're talking highest standards. And remember the goal. Building an ethical culture makes your company a great place to work and helps to build a profitable, thriving organization. So that's really the goal, guys. We just want to build an ethical culture. We all want to build a profitable, thriving organization, and that's what we want. And helplines and protecting whistleblowers really gets us there. So I hope this has been helpful to you. It's been great to talk with you. It's fun to do something different in our community. I know we have our LinkedIn group. It's always our Global Ethics Solutions Forum. It's great to chat in there, but it's fun to kind of get out here, provide these webinars. There's my contact information. Like to contact me. If you want to contact Joe, he's available as well. Just Joe at Global Ethics Solutions. It's been an absolute pleasure. Hope to join you on LinkedIn. And if you have any questions, I would love to have your feedback. And by the way, if you're out there and you'd like to present here one of these months, we would certainly love to. We want to invite ethics professionals from all over to join our community here in building an ethical culture. So, thanks so much, Joe. I'll just kind of turn it back to you.
Yeah, just Mark, great job. Please visit our website if you have any questions. We have the training online, as well as we offer a full service IntegraLine product, which is both the software and the call center for anonymous reporting.